Thanks, Jess. Good morning. Came up with an idea about a week and a half ago. I'll reinforce it again. We won't talk about it all the time, but on the front side, since it's new, we'll let you know. Got a heck of a value at this place. Our monthly mortgage is about $2,000 a month, which is great. This is going to be a great place. As you see, there's building coming and everything's moving this way. What we're doing, mortgage $2,000 a month, and I decided to make a few inquiries and find out if there's anybody that might want to cover a month. It'd be $2,000, and so surprisingly, we got about 7 months covered. And so what that means is on into, it's a great deal, and which is great. So we don't know what's going to happen this winter, how are we going to get out here some way, so it really provides a cushion and a buffer for some of the things that we don't know about. So just I'd throw it out there. If somebody's in a position, some of you might be with other people, be in a position to cover a month. And so if you want to do that, just give to that and write mortgage retirement or mortgage reduction. That's how that works. That makes sense? And what we'll probably do, we won't talk about it all the time, maybe another couple of weeks, and then we'll do some type of visual thing every once in a while so that you can see how many months are covered so that we can all be encouraged as people find the ability to contribute to that. So we're talking about the 5 steps. We're in the second of the 5. The first one is be real. We talked about that last week. Then there's be still. Then it's breathe freely. And then wait perseveringly and respond gently. 5 steps towards what? You could fill it in with a number of different things. 5 steps towards transformation. I think it describes how it is that we're transformed. You look at the steps, waiting perseveringly and responding gently is really what faith and love are about. To wait perseveringly is what faith is. We don't get everything now. Faith doesn't allow us to get everything now. It allows us to wait perseveringly. That's what faith is. And love requires us to respond gently. It's hard to love when hypocrisy and judgment are keeping us at a distance from other people. So waiting perseveringly and responding gently, those capture what it means to express your faith through love, which is really the goal of transformation. How is it that that occurs? As we learn to be real, be still, and breathe freely, it helps us to wait perseveringly and respond gently. What we talked about be real last week, and what we decided, or what we looked at, was that a resentful spirit and a lawful heart are hardwired into us. Let me tell you what that means. That we have a spirit that longs to assign blame when we don't get what we want. Now, that's not just talking about the person next to you. That's talking about the person that's sitting in your seat. We all deal with it. We don't get what we want. We're frustrated. What we find is we're going to blame somebody. Some of us put the blame on ourselves. If I was a better person, if I was more assertive, if I was less assertive, I'd get what I want. And we become contemptuous of ourselves. Others don't point contempt at ourselves. We point at others. If you were a better friend, if you were a better mother. But all of us, when we are deprived of what we want, will feel the edge. You felt that edge, haven't you? And you know what being real means? Is that you admit it. Be real. We all feel it. We have a resentful spirit and a lawful heart. A lawful heart means that we're aware of our standard. And we hold ourselves to the standard, and we hold others to the standard, and what that comes off as is we'll point the finger at somebody and blame. We deal with these things. And what be real is be honest with God. He already knows it, and so be real is about admitting to him the things that are true. That's where transformation begins. Now, some of us have, wait, I can't be that honest with God. I mean, have you read the stories in the Old Testament? You know, people that messed up, and God kills a lot of people. Is it safe to be real with God? And the answer is, we looked at that. God, from fore to aft, is a God who keeps covenants. In the Old Testament, it's the Old Covenant. And the Old Covenant is this. Keep the 10 Commandments, and this is a rough approximation. Keep the 10 Commandments and you be blessed. Disobey the commandments and you get cursed. Did God keep his covenant in the Old Testament? When people obeyed, did he bless them? When they disobeyed, did he curse them? And the answer is, because God keeps covenants. So what we have now, Jesus comes and says, this is the new covenant in my blood. Let me tell you about the new covenant. It's different than the old. It's, I will be, and we talked about a word, helios. Helios, let me tell you what helios means. Cheerful, gracious, benevolent, and favorable. And here's what it says. I will be helios, I will be cheerful, gracious, benevolent, favorable to your unrighteousnesses. No joke. Here's what it says as part of the new covenant. I will be helios when you disobey. God is non-reactive. He remains responsive. Why can we trust him? Because God operates by covenant, and the new covenant changes the ground rules he operates by. He's a safe haven to return to, and he's a secure base to explore from. We can be real about what we want and don't have, and what we do and don't, what we want to do and don't do. And let me tell you, we'll talk about this. I'm going to mention this a couple times. We're going to do a retreat. We only have room for 50. It's coming this weekend. We're more than half full and more coming in. We'll take some time to do this. If you come to the retreat, you're not going to be forced to share anything, but we're going to give ourselves some time to be real and to name some of the things. And what we're going to talk about is don't judge. When you talk about the things that you want and don't have, what we're going to encourage each other is don't judge yourself. This is not a time to judge. It's just a time to be real. Just admit it. You don't have to qualify. You don't have to justify it. Be honest. What are some of the things you want and don't have? What are some of the things that you want to do and don't do? And again, it's very easy for us to judge, and we're not going to talk about that. The goal when being real is not to be forgiven. It's just to understand. Now, we're going to talk about what we do with it, but that's the goal. Just understand. Be descriptive of it. And that's what being real is about. God, here's the deal. I just feel like my fuse is this short. And I don't know what that's about, but I don't like it. You be real about what you do and don't want to do. And God, I don't like what I'm dealing with at work. You know, resentful thoughts, you know what resentment means? It's to feel again. It's to re-feel. Now, the deal with resentment is you don't get to pick what you're resentful about. I mean, you don't wake up in the morning and you don't call resentful thoughts into your head. For some of us, the minute we wake up, bing, they're right there. Or the last thing we think about before we go to bed. We can't control our thoughts. And resentful thoughts are thoughts that you just can't not think about it. You know the thing. You know the thing. You don't want to think about what that person said to you. Yeah, that person. And about what they did to you at work. It's the thing. That's what resentment is. You feel it. You think about it. And you think about it again. Be real. We just admit it. God, that torqued me off. I didn't like it. And you know what, God? I didn't like the way I responded to it. I froze that guy out, or I had a temper tantrum. All we're doing is being real. We're admitting. What feelings are? Emotions? The emotions that you feel, they come from a Latin word, emotere. Emotere, which means the thing that gets you moving. You know what emotions do? They get us moving. And when you feel that thing, whether it's pleasure or anger, feelings move us. And we get ready for action. And the thing that God asks us to do when we touch these feelings is very strange. He asks us to be still. Don't move anywhere. I know what you're feeling. I know what you want to. Just for the moment. Put down your phone. Put down your planner. Put down your checkbook. Put down the hammer. What God says, be real, but then be still. Be still. And that's what we're going to look at today. There's do's and don'ts. Let's look at don'ts too. First don't is cease striving. Look what it says in Isaiah 22, verse 8. It's in your sheet here. That's what it says. Isaiah writes, and you looked in that day to the weapons in the palace of the forest. You saw that the city of David had many breaches in its defenses. You stored up water in the lower pool. You counted the buildings in Jerusalem and tore down houses to strengthen the wall. You built a reservoir between the two walls for the water of the old pool, but you did not look to the one who made it or have regard for the one who planned it long ago. They saw that they were vulnerable. The Assyrian army was approaching. They were not an army you wanted to mess with. The Assyrian army, what their strategy was, you just beat the tar out of people so that they won't even think of rebelling. So the Assyrian army was terrible. They just flayed people alive, and you don't want the details. But anyways, so they are moving their way through Israel, gobbling up city after city after city, and they're getting to the place where they're threatening Jerusalem, the capital. And so it describes what the people did. They prepared for a siege. And you know what they used? Elbow grease. Elbow grease. So when you read this thing, they're fortifying the lower pool, moving the water, they're fortifying the walls, and you can imagine elbow grease, bunch of activity. Was there anything wrong with that? No, that's logical steps. Logical steps. When you're being threatened by something, whether it's financial or physical, there are responses. There's things to shore up. There's finances to shore up. Nothing wrong with that, is there? The answer is no. Nothing wrong with it. Just don't do it first. Just don't do it first. Here's what he said to him. You did not look to the one who made it or have regard for the one who planned it long ago. What they did, they went right into elbow grease. Okay, let's fix this, do this. And what God says, hello, hey, I planned the city. And it's wise, isn't it, when we're real. And they were real because they counted and they had a weapon shortage. There's no way they're going to be able to survive against this army. They were real about that. That's good to be real. They weren't thinking about, we'll take them on. They couldn't take them on. Once they will be real, the next thing would be still. And that's what they didn't do. They didn't even talk to him about it at first. What happens, as it turns out, the king, Hezekiah, he ends up being threatened by the Assyrian army, and he finally, somebody in Israel gets still. And he talks to God, and he's real with him. And this is what he says. Hezekiah prayed to the Lord, O Lord, Almighty God of Israel, enthroned between the cherubim, you alone are God over all the kingdoms of the earth. You've made heaven and earth. Give ear, O Lord, and hear. Open your eyes, O Lord, and see. Listen to all the words Sennacherib, the Assyrian king, has sent to insult the living God. It's true, O Lord, that the Assyrian kings have laid waste all these peoples and their lands. They have thrown their gods into the fire and destroyed them, for they were not gods, but only wood and stone, fashioned by human hands. Now, O Lord, our God, deliver us from his hand, so that all kingdoms on earth may know that you alone, O Lord, are God. What he does, he's still. He's real, and he comes into God's presence. God's response, here's what he says. Therefore, this is what the Lord says concerning the king of Assyria. He will not enter this city or shoot an arrow here. He will not come before it with shield or build a siege ramp against it. By the way, that he came, he will return. He will not enter this city, declares the Lord. I will defend this city and save it for my sake and for the sake of David, my servant. You know what he's saying is, okay, it was nice. The elbow grease was nice, but guess what? You're not going to need the water. Neither will you need the weapons. Neither will you need the wall, because they're not even going to come close. And here's what happened. Then the angel of the Lord went out and put to death 185,000 men in the Assyrian camp. When the people got up the next morning, there were all the dead bodies. Historically, there was a plague that fell on the Assyrian army overnight. One day, they were there. The rest of the night, it was gone. The threat vanished. Because you prayed. They'd be just still. Be still accomplished what get busy could never accomplish. Another strategy is not elbow grease, it's whitewash. Elbow grease is one strategy. Whitewash is another one. Listen to what it says in Ezekiel. Because they lead my people astray, saying peace when there is no peace, and because when a flimsy wall is built, they cover it with whitewash. Therefore tell those who cover it with whitewash that it is going to fall. Rain will come down in torrents, and I will send hailstones hurtling down, and violent winds will burst forth. When the wall collapses, will people not ask you, where is the whitewash you covered it with? There were breaches in the defense's flimsy wall. You know what they did? Give it the appearance that it's substantial. Cover it with whitewash. It looks flimsy. Give it a nice coat of whitewash. Oh, there's a wall. But the only problem is with whitewash, you go and you go boink, And it's not really that substantial. If it rains, it washes the whitewash away. Whitewash is a strategy that we can use, make things look good, take care of appearance. If there's a fissure in the wall of the things that we want, just don't repair it. Just make it looks like it's repaired. You know, there's a time when this is okay. Company's coming over. Sometimes you have to cram stuff in bags and throw it downstairs. I mean, let's just be real. It's just, yeah, you got to do it. And then somebody comes over and they go, "Oh, Ma, you keep a clean house." Oh, it's nothing. It's just nothing. It's different when you're dealing with people. We can't stock up our stuff as quickly and put it in the basement. That's what the Pharisees did. And that's what was the problem Jesus had with them. Everything they did was for people to see. Here's what Jesus said to them. "Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites. You clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they're full of greed and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup and dish, and then the outside will also be clean. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites. You're like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of dead men's bones and everything unclean. In the same way, on the outside you appear to people as righteous, but on the inside you are full of hypocrisy and wickedness." You know what hypocrisy is? It's about impressing others in order to live in the light of their smile. You put the stuff away. Now, you don't reveal everything to everyone. But with safe people, it's good to be honest, to not put stuff in the basement, to be real about what's happening, especially with God. God understands what we deal with. You know what the problem is when image is everything? When how things look, listen, when how things look is what matters, how things really are never gets dealt with. Here's the deal. When how things look is all that matters, when image is everything, how things really are never gets dealt with because we're so busy making the appearance look good that we really can't invest the energy to clean the stuff that really needs to be cleaned up. That's the problem when we just cater to appearances. God judges the motives of men's hearts. He assesses why we do what we do. Be still, don'ts. Cease striving. Stop digging. If we're able to be real, here's what we're going to end up with. We're going to end up with something in our hands. We're going to end up with stuff that we want to have and don't have. Things that we wish we could have for ourselves and for our families, for our future. We're going to end up with this stuff. And we're going to end up with reactions, things that we do because we don't have this. Our temper, the things that we do to try to submerge our frustration. We're going to end up with things in our hands if we're real. And when we come before God, what we usually do, rather than come before Him, is we separate out what's good and bad. We look at it. We put it out on the table. And, okay, this is a good feeling and that's a bad feeling. So this is a good circumstance and this is a bad, but we're addicted to this, by the way. We're addicted to it. We want to create order in our life. Good, bad. Good, bad. And the reason we do that is because we want to keep some and get rid of the other. We want to keep what's good and get rid of what's bad. You know what Jesus did? He called this strategy into question. Called it into question. Here's what He said. Look what it says. Look at this parable. Let's read it from Matthew 12. Matthew 19, I'm sorry. No, where is that? Matthew 13. There it is. 13. Jesus told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. When the wheat sprouted and formed heads, then the weeds also appeared. The owner's servants came to him and said, "Sir, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Where then did the weeds come from?" "An enemy did this," he replied. The servants asked him, "Do you want us to go and pull them up?" "No," he answered, "because while you are pulling up the weeds, you may root up the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At that time I will tell the harvesters, first collect the weeds and tie them in bundles to be burned, Then gather the wheat and bring it into my barn. In this parable, we find bad entwined with good. And they ask a logical question. We should get busy, shouldn't we? Good, bad. Good, bad. We're going to separate it out. We're going to get rid of the bad and keep the good. We're going to dig it up. We'll dig up the tares, and we'll keep the wheat. And the figure that represents with God says, don't do that. Don't do that. But he says, if you dig up the bad, you'll dig up the good as well. Ever since the Garden of Eden, we have taken it upon ourselves to separate our life into good and bad. And you know what we want to do? Rip out the bad. Keep the good. And this parable, what it indicates, you're going to have a hard time doing that because it's not that neat and clean, is it? Some of our qualities end up being our weakness. Some of us are very giving and we give away too much. Some of us are very frugal and we end up not giving. And you can't rip one thing out without ripping out something good. That's the problem with us. We have the desire to separate good and evil, but we don't have the mind for it. You got to be God to do that. Only God knows how everything works out. That doesn't stop us, doesn't stop me. My brother is really funny. He's quick, like lightning fast. So anyways, we're out in the back, and we're working in the garden. So my dad had a dickens of a time getting us out there. You know, we always were great at excuses. My dad's not great at asking for help anyways. I don't know how he pulled it off. But he got us out there. His boys were out there. You know, there's myself, my brother Bob, my brother Cliff. And so my dad was in construction, and he has these big bars. And, you know, there's these big rocks in the garden. And my dad takes these things out. Now, they're levers, but my dad doesn't call them levers. He calls them levers. I don't know why he calls them levers. Anyway, so we're taking the levers, and we're jumping the levers under these huge rocks, and then we're prying these rocks out of here. And I think my dad was having a great time, because there he is, and his boys are with him, and so we're using the levers and finally we got this rock out of there. And then my dad says, okay, let's drop the levers and dig the garden. No joke, my brother Bob, he did not wait a second. He said, my dad says, okay, let's drop the levers and dig the garden. Bob says, let's drop the diggers and leave the garden. I mean, if he didn't have to wait. It was just, how do you, naturally, my dad even broke up. Oh, go in then. Drop the diggers. Leave the garden. Stop digging. Stop digging. You go at yourself pretty hard, don't you? Digging up. Trying to get to the root of things. Bad, good. Bad, good. Rip up the bad. Keep the good. Be still. Just for a little bit. Drop the shovel. Stop trying to fix yourself. Stop trying to fix other people. Be real. Be still. Cease striving. Stop digging. I like the way Step 6 of Alcoholics Anonymous says. There's some real wisdom in there. Are we ready to let God remove from us all the things we admitted are objectionable? Listen to this question. This is a great question. Are we ready to let God remove from us all the things that we've admitted are objectionable? We're ready. We admit they're objectionable. Who does the removing? God does. He does the digging. And then this is what it says. I love this prayer. My Creator, this is step 7. My Creator, I am willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character that stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me grace as I go out from here to do your bidding. We've then completed step 7. I'm going to say that again. Is that a great prayer? It is. good and bad, not separated it out. It goes all in one laundry basket. The good and here it is. You don't separate your life at this step into good and bad. You just throw it all in one basket, not lights and darks. One basket. Here it is, God. My Creator, I'm willing you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my happiness. That's not what it says. It doesn't say that steps in the way of happiness or holiness. Everything that stands in the way of usefulness to you and my fellows. Would you agree with me that the defects of character that stand in the way of happiness and holiness and the defects of character that stand in the way of usefulness are not the same list? Would you agree with me? The things that stand in the way of usefulness are hypocrisy, judgment, dishonesty, being inconsiderate, being self-seeking, being frightened. You know who has to get rid of those things? The person who's not sitting in your seat. Stop digging. Now, there's a time to do something, but not first. Be real, be still. God does the removing. James Garfield, 20th president, was shot by Charles Guiteau. It wasn't the bullet that killed him. Here's what killed him. They were probing the wound with their fingers. They were digging at it. Really. Digging at the wound to try to find out where the bullet was. And he died of septic infection. Digging at ourselves and others. Kills us. Judge people. Try to rip things out of their life. Rip things out of our life. Stop digging, at least temporarily. Okay, that's what you don't do. Cease striving. Stop digging. What do you mean? Do we just... No, there's things to do. What do you do? Glance at good. It says, Matthew 19, now a man came up to Jesus and asked, Teacher, what good thing must I do to get eternal life? Why do you ask me about what's good, Jesus replied. There's only one who is good. Question. From this text, did Jesus separate life into good and bad? You read what it says. Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal? Why are you asking me about what's good? There's only one good, and that's God alone. You know what? Jesus didn't separate life into good and not good. You know what he separated life into? God and not God. Because when we separate life into good and not good, you know what we end up doing? We have to blame somebody. I got something bad, and somebody's got to be blamed. Now, it might be me. I'm the reason for the bad in my life. We've called it bad, and now we've got to blame somebody. Or he's the reason. You know, that's why Jesus, I don't think he separated life into good and bad, because you know what happens? If you do that, then we end up having to call somebody into account. The fact is, God will lead us through some painful things, and if they're bad, what are we going to have to do? Blame somebody. There's only three choices. And that's why Jesus said, I'm not going to go there. They were trying to project onto him, Jesus' life is good. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. We want to separate out good and bad, and then we want to banish the bad and keep the good. I have this image. When I'm going through very difficult times, I kind of conceive of myself as the island of good. And this is really a thought. It captures the way I feel inside. There's the island of good, and I'm on this raft. And the current is pulling me out from the island of good. That's where I want to be. I want to be there. I want what happens on that island. I want the relationships that happen on that island. I want the life that happens on that island. I want to be able to live on that island, the island of good. But here I am in this, and I'm being pulled out to sea by my defects of character, you know, by the things that lead me not to go to people, but to back away from them. You know what I end up feeling in that, on my little raft? I feel two things. I feel sad. That's where I want to live. And you know what else I feel? Mad. Now, me, I get mad at me. My fault. Some of us get mad at somebody else. but it's because we are gazing at good. We gaze at good. How do you define good? You might define it different ways. Good might be having a better house. You know what I mean. What's good to you? Can you touch that thing? The good that you want but don't have? Can you feel that? Can you admit it? Can you be real about it? Be real. Don't justify it. Don't try to say, is it okay or not? We're not doing that now. You're just being real, honest. What God says is be still. Don't dig at it. No elbow grease, no whitewash. Be still. Be still. Glance at good. Gaze at God. That's what it says. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. Never will I leave you. Never will I forsake you. We've talked about this before. You know this. Be still. From the Hebrew word Rapha. Take your arms. Take your arms. Okay, ready? Here's Rapha. Let your arms hang. Everybody try this. Let your arms hang limp at your side. This feels weird. I mean, if somebody's in a restaurant and the reason why I say this is because I did this about a week ago. I kind of looked around in the restaurant and let my arms hang limp at my side. This feels weird. You know why? Because we feel like we should be doing something. We've got things in our hands, things that we don't want to have, things that we don't want to do, and now we're taking this stuff and okay, you don't have to do that anymore. But you feel it though? That's Rapha. Be still. Let your arms hang limp at your side, just for a minute. Put down your cell phone, just for a minute. Put down your planner. Put down the things that you use to fix things, just for a minute. Be real about what you have and don't want and what you do and don't want. Now, you're going to do some things, but not right now. Now's the time to be still. With those things in your hands, let your hands hang limp at your side. Be still. And now, here's what you're to reflect on. Here's what God says to you. With those things in your hands and with your arms at your side, he says, listen to me. I am God. I will be exalted in the nations, and I will be exalted in the earth. JC and I were talking. That doesn't mean, I'm going to be the big man. Oh, yeah, it's going to happen like I. You know what it means? I'm going to accomplish my purposes. In spite of what you have and in spite of what you do, you are not going to prohibit or inhibit my ability to do good things. You know what the deal is? God has it covered. He does. And that's what he says. With your stuff, be still. I will be exalted in the nations and on earth, and not only that, I will never leave you or forsake you. To leave is to cut something loose. You got a boat, and the word for leave is what happens if you untie that boat from the mooring. And if you untie from the mooring, what's going to happen to the boat? It's going to drift. You know what God says to you? I will not cut you loose. I will not cast you adrift. You're not adrift. You might not be going in the direction you would like to be going, but what God says, admit what you want and don't have. You don't have the job that you want, and you're not reacting to not having the job like you would want to react. Let your arms hang limp at your side. God says, listen to me. I am God. I will be exalted in the nations on earth. I will not cast you adrift. And I will not forsake you, which means leave you behind. We've talked about the Marines, Semper Fi. What does Semper Fi mean? If I'm a Marine and I am on the field of battle, Semper Fi leads me to understand that you, if you're Marines, will not leave me in the field of battle alone. You will not leave me behind. That's what it says. I will not cast you adrift. I will not leave you behind. Reflect on his greatness. Reflect on his goodness. This comes first. The reason why we reflect on his goodness is not to have a cheery little mind thing. God's promises are powerful. If real and still, those things have a way of getting inside. Let me model how this works. We've all done it a couple times. Well, maybe you think about it. We're going to do this weekend at the retreat. We're going to have time for it. I think it's going to be a great retreat. We'll do it in the future. If you can't come this week, I understand. That's fine. But we're going to do 5-step retreats in the future. You're going to hear about 5 steps. You're going to hear about 10 commitments and 5 steps. And what you're going to find, these things dovetail together. 10 commitments helps us to look at Him. 5 steps help us deal with our life. And again, there's some registration forms. We only have room for so many, so if you're thinking of coming, fill in your registration today. But if you can't come, we're going to be doing it in the future. We'll do other retreats like this. We're going to talk about how it works. Be real. I want you to think about it. Try to be real. Think about what you want at home. Think about what you want in your relational life. Think about what you want in your job. Be honest. Think about it. The relationships you want. The health things you want. Think about it. Now hold the fact. Now, again, what we do with these things, we hide them. How's your life? Fine. Don't hide it. Don't hurl it. Yeah, if I had a better. Just hold it. Just hold it. You got that? You don't have what you want. No. You know the way you're reacting to this? You're biting people's heads off. Or you're withdrawing. Or you're submerging it by some kind of addiction. Okay, you hold that too. You got these things in your hands? Everybody got something in their hands? Unfulfilled desires? Everybody got some unfulfilled desires here? How many have unfulfilled desires? How many have something in their hands? I want you to look around. I don't see many hands that aren't down, that aren't up. Everybody's got stuff in their hands. How many of you have unfulfilled desires relative to how you're relating to these things? You really happy with the way you're responding to life? How many are really totally satisfied? I love the way I'm relating to life. Not many hands up now. You know what that tells me? You have something else in this hand. Here's what God says. Here's what it looks like. You know what, God? I don't have the life I want right now. I don't have enough money to pay bills. I don't like the job I have. And I don't like what I'm doing about it. Be real. And now what you do? Shh. Here's what God says. I am God. I will be exalted in the nations on earth. I'm going to accomplish my purposes. And what he would tell you, I will never leave you. I will never cast you adrift. I will never cast you adrift. I will never cast you adrift. I will never leave you behind. Do you feel that inside? Some of you might feel it. You know why you're feeling that? Because you don't feel so alone now. You don't feel so abandoned. Isn't that funny? You know what you were feeling? Abandoned. We want what we want because it makes us feel less alone. That's why God says, be real. Be still. Worship team's going to come up. Next week we're going to talk about breathing freely. And I encourage you to come. That's the point at which things start to shift. Next week, breathe freely. And then we'll look at wait perseveringly and respond gently.